For years, I have warned y'all that white folks, namely white conservatives in America, do not want to see black folks getting ahead. There's a constant targeting of anything that benefits black people and other minorities. Ed Blum, a white conservative out of Texas, has been on the warpath challenging anything in this country that he deems discriminatory and he calls race-based. He was the guy behind the affirmative action case that the Supreme Court decided that outlawed affirmative action in the use of college admissions. On the heels of that, he is now targeting not just law firms, but also targeting a black women-focused venture capital fund out of Atlanta. It is called the Fearless Fund. It was created by Arian Simone, Ayana Parsons, and actress Keshia Knight Pulliam. Their goal is to award $20,000 grants, $20,000 in grants, digital tools, and mentorship opportunities for black women entrepreneurs in partnership with Mastercard. Now keep in mind, y'all, in the venture capital space, okay, less than 2% goes to black people. In the private equity space, less than 2% goes to black people. And so we are grossly underrepresented. So we're not talking about a lot of money out there. But white guys like Ed Blum goes, oh, this is discriminatory against white people. So y'all get damn near the 98%, but you bitching about the less than 2%. Gotcha. Now, here's what he's also doing. He literally is using the 1866 Civil Rights Act against black people. This was the same act that was passed in the wake of the Civil War. It was one of the Reconstruction, first of all, the Reconstruction Amendments, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. This was one of the bills that was there to assist black folks when it came to being able to do business in America. He's now trying to say, oh, this is really hurting white people. Yeah, that's what's going on. Folks, the CEO of the Fearless Fund, Arian Simone, and the general partner, Ayana Parsons, they join me right now to discuss this particular lawsuit. Glad to have both of you here. Y'all have been doing a number of media interviews around the country, talking to a variety of people. And so I'm first of all, I just got to get, what was your initial reaction to Ed Blum's lawsuit?
Our initial reaction, I actually thought we were being punked by ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. We received emails from the press contacting our staff saying, hey, we'd like you to comment on this lawsuit. And I said, oh, this is a joke. So initially, we did not believe it was real. But the second we did, of course, we lawyered up and had to proceed accordingly. And we plan to continue to do all the wonderful work that we do. But yes, initially, we didn't believe that this was real.
So we're talking here again about a fund that was created. Y'all started it when?
In 2018, 2019, about 4.5 years now. It's built by women of color for women of color. So we actually invest in all women of color, not just African American. We have our investment vehicle, which is one business that we run, and we also have our foundation. And through our foundation, we have grant programs, education programs that come out of there. But our investment vehicle is backed by Bank of America, Ally Bank, Mastercard, JP Morgan Chase, PayPal Ventures, Costco, and a host of others where we do investment capital.
And Roland, I just might add that
yeah, go ahead.
4 years, we have invested more than $26 million in over 40 companies. And we've also awarded more than $3 million worth of grants through our foundation in over 300 companies. So it is significant, I think, the impact that we've made. And it's just a small dent that we put in the ecosystem.
Well, and that's the point I want to make right there, because, and again, I'm not trying to diminish. You said 26 million and 4 million, correct?
26 million and 3 million. That's right.
Gotcha. 26 million, 26, 3 and 3 million. So it's 29 million. And so I'm not trying to diminish that. But I need the public to understand how much money we're talking about total that goes out in the venture capital world. What's that number?
Well, in
Last year of
2022, it
2022,
was, yeah,
over
$288
$280
billion.
billion. And we work in a $62
Okay,
trillion.
hold on. Both talking at the same time. Simone first, go ahead.
In 2022, over $280 billion was deployed in venture capital. Women of color saw only 0.39% of that. In the industry we work in of PE and VC, it's a $62 trillion industry.
And see, that right there, Arian, is the point I want to focus on. We're talking $280 billion. And you gave the number for black women. If you throw in black men, we still won't even get to 1.5% total. But the goal here is, well, the Ed Blums of the world is to specifically even shut down these avenues because, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really believe, Arian, I don't believe that y'all are actually his target. I believe the companies who you work with are his targets, and that's what they are trying to go after.
I can definitely say that this lawsuit is not about us. It is, and I'll let Ayana go ahead, but it's not about us. It's about an attack on our economic freedom and our economic progress. Go ahead, Ayana.
No, you're absolutely right. Roland, this is so much bigger than us. I mean, he's come after higher education. He's come after venture capital, but he's going after employment. He's going after DEI in the corporate sector. He's going after internship programs, scholarship programs. In fact, he may be going after our HBCUs. So this is so much bigger than us.
And he's already instilled the fear. The fear, when the lawsuit was filed right after the SBA 8A program, it is halted. So you're looking at minority grant programs halted. You're looking at minority certifications halted. It's all on pause, and it's a fear tactic. So no, it's not an attack on us at all.
Well, on the federal level, what they're doing is they, first of all, are trying to determine the impact of a Supreme Court affirmative action decision in these other areas. Now, to me, that's stupid because that decision was specific to colleges and universities. And so, and what they're trying to do, what the Blum is trying to do, the Stephen Millers of the world they're trying to do, they've already tried to go to Kellogg, 16 Republican attorneys generals sent letters to about 100 different companies. They've sent letters to law firms as well. And so, yeah, they want to go after all of them. And I gave a speech the other day to the Business Council in Milwaukee. And I said, this is the moment where we are going to need to see if white corporate executives are real allies. If these white corporate executives are going to look the Ed Blums of the world in the eye and say, y'all can go to hell. We are doing these programs. This is not public dollars here. We're not talking about, so we're dealing with companies who can create such programs. They want to go after the entire ecosystem that has created, and it's not like it's been great, but has created the opportunity for African Americans to be able to participate in fellowships, in scholarships, in colleges, in being able to be entrepreneurs, and they don't even like that.
That's right. I mean, this is about economic freedom and opportunity, and you shut off that access like Ed Blum is trying to do and intimidate us. It has resounding effects and impacts for generations to come. And that's why, as we talked at the March on Washington this past weekend, that it is truly a state of emergency, and we need everyone to understand how much bigger this is than the Fearless Fund.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know because I'm always about who's standing. So, Arian, I'll start with you. I'm curious to know. Black Economic Alliance, Executive Leadership Council, these other different groups, have they reached out to y'all? Are they saying, hey, we're going to be standing 10 toes down with y'all? Are you receiving phone calls? Are you receiving emails from other groups who are saying, we are not going to let them go after you alone? We're standing with you. Is that happening?
Yes, we've received many phone calls, many emails, many people who are standing in solidarity with us. You will see more mobilization coming soon, but many people have definitely come to say, we support you and we stand with you on this issue. Even as of recent, Forbes reported about how 70 venture capital firms came together and said, you know what, we stand with the Fearless Fund. We don't think that this is right. We are in solidarity with them, and many others are coming to the table as well too. So that has definitely been a blessing, and we are grateful for all of them. And a lot of people have also signed our petition at www.fearlessfreedomnow.org, and they've reached out through our website as well to join the fight.
What do you, for the folks who are watching, the folks who are listening, what is it that you would like for them to do? What would you like for them to? Because again, as a point that I'm making, this thing is not just about you. It's also about the much larger issue that's going on here. And I keep saying this to our people, and people are like, oh man, you're frightening people. No, I'm not. I really want people to understand that this thing is major. This thing is far-reaching. We literally are talking about the future economic mobility of Black America.
That's right, Roland. And just to echo Arian's comments, we want everyone to get informed. The way you can do that is by visiting www.fearlessfreedomnow.org. We have plenty of information there so that you can go online, get informed, stand in solidarity with us, support us as a fund, because the worst thing that can happen is that we lose this case and it has lasting implications. But as we have shared before, we're not scared, we're fearless, and we will prevail in this fight.
Folks, we're talking to the leaders of the Fearless Fund, a fund out of Atlanta that focuses on Black women and people of color in the venture capital world. They are under legal assault from white conservatives like Ed Blum, who's trying to use a civil rights law of 1866 that was put in place to help Black people. He's now trying to actually use this against Black people. Dr. Larry Walker joins us on the show today. He, of course, is a professor, assistant professor, University of Central Florida. Michael Imhotep, host of the African History Network show out of Detroit. Larry, your question first for our two guests with the Fearless Fund.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Roland. I've seen you talked about obviously the importance of being on this show, this platform, and you've been on a number of different platforms over the last couple of days. And I want you to talk about the importance of letting, the Black community know about what the work you do and the assault that, Roland, and you highlighted, how important it is to get the word out to the Black community in terms of the importance of your work and what could happen based on this lawsuit.
Oh, it's a state of emergency. The Black community definitely needs to be aware of the work that we do for multiple reasons. First, our industry is 92% white male. There are very few Black female and male investors in the venture capital space. We need more people of color, more Black people as investors, because we do believe that if we can diversify the investors, we can actually even diversify the investments. So just from an industry speaking standpoint, it is crucial for people to know about this type of work in general and the industry. Regarding, of course, this attack and this lawsuit, this is a state of an emergency. This sets precedent for what is to come depending on the outcome of this case. That's how serious this is. This can have long-lasting generational effects if we don't get a hold of this right now and stop this.
Michael.
All right, Arian, and Ayana. Thanks for coming on, sharing this information. So I read the articles from the Washington Post and Associated Press on this, and in the Washington Post, it said that according to the lawsuit, it says that the Fearless Fund is, quote, open only to Black females, end quote. But one of you stated that it's open to women of color and not exclusively for African-American women. Am I correct in what you said? Am I correct in what I heard?
Michael, you're absolutely correct. We invest in women of color. That's inclusive of Latinas. That's inclusive of Native American. It's inclusive of Asian and Black women. You're absolutely correct. And we did that because this demographic holistically is the most founded, yet the least funded demographic. We make up more than 20% of the U.S. population. And as we shared earlier, we receive less than half of 1% of venture funds.
So just a quick follow-up question. What is the legal foundation of his argument if in the lawsuit it misstates who you allocate the funds to?
That we
So, Michael,
can't get into.
That's the
Yeah, we can't get into the lawsuit. But we have the
Okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. They can't get into the lawsuit because obviously they're in the middle of it, Michael.
Okay.
Here's what there is no. I can say this. There is no legal argument. Here's the strategy that I need everybody to understand, and we've seen this already. By filing the lawsuit against the Fearless Fund, what they want to do is create pain, concern, dissension, and fear in the marketplace.
Right.
So here's a perfect example. There was a conservative outfit in Virginia. What they were doing, they were sending letters to largely rural Black cities in Mississippi, in Alabama, and other places, saying that they had people on their voting rolls who were illegal. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, if you don't drop them, we're going to sue you. There were several cities that were so broke, they said, oh my God, we can't afford the lawsuit, so they changed. Now they got busted when they got reported on, but they were being effective because they were using the legal argument. And you got to remember, this billionaire just gave the leader of the Fairless Society $1.6 billion to use any way that he wants. Leonard Leo is funding many of these conservative efforts, and so the strategy, and I'll let them speak in a second. But the strategy is not to actually win a lawsuit. The strategy is, by the fear of the lawsuit, is to cause people to literally stop and end any such programs in their place right now. That's the legal strategy. Go right ahead, Arian or Ayana.
Well, I think you pretty much said it best, or summed it up rather. This is not an attack on us. It's definitely to instill fear. I think that's the best way to sum it up. Of course, we can't get into the logistics of the lawsuit, but just by the filing suit on us, people have already started to adjust their programs, which is unfortunate. And it's just out of fear. They're not even being sued. They're just changing just because. And I'm like, oh no, you need to stand up for what you believe in and what your programs are designed to do. They wouldn't exist if the disparities didn't exist. So they have to continue.
That's right.
And I know these are friends and these are clients, but I'm just going to say to the both of you, any of these companies that are all of a sudden getting skittish or pressing the pause button or changing as a result, please let us know, because here's the thing. These are the same companies that we as Black folks don't need to be supporting with our dollars. Because if they're not going to, and this is the point I keep making, if they are not going to stand up for us against these attacks, but they still want us buying their products, that's completely unacceptable. And this is the moment. Black folks have been fighting this fight forever, but this is the moment for white people, so-called allies, to stand with us and say, we are going to fight tooth and nail against every single one of these efforts, just like the white military leaders stood up and wrote letters to the Supreme Court and said diversity is in the national interest of the military. And that is why in that very affirmative action ruling, the Supreme Court said that it did not apply to the military academies because it's in the national interest.
Amen.
No, we agree.
I'm just saying. So
No,
go ahead.
we definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. Luckily, in our case, though, and this may be just an outlier, our investors are definitely continuing to invest. Our investors are definitely continuing to support. So we are in a position where those companies are definitely standing by this and their work. They are going to continue to do this work with us. But in the event there are any that are not, we have no problem letting you know.
Yeah, and I think what I would just add to that, Roland, is it's such an important point that you make, because we saw the whole racial reckoning in our country in the wake of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's murders and Ahmaud Arbery and all of these corporate commitments that were made. To Arian's point, luckily, our investors have stood beside us in this, but there are so many corporations that made these commitments and they need to follow through.
Well, Congresswoman Ayana Presley, who we're going to have on the show soon, she actually has been pressing that issue as well. We've been saying the exact same thing. We've been pushing that. And again, look, we all know how these things work. Again, it happens a whole lot. I've dealt this with other areas. There are people who say, hey, Roland, we can't say certain things or do certain things because, we have business ties or they might be our friends. Let me be real clear. I ain't scared to hit nobody. And I'm going to say this again. And I've been hitting all these companies. I've been hitting folks in all these areas. The biggest thing for me, I am not going to let people continue to reap the benefits of black dollars and then don't stand with black people. And if anybody is wondering why am I so adamant, that's literally what Dr. King said on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple, when he made it perfectly clear. The one thing that we as blacks can do is economic withdrawal. The reality is black people have been putting money into this system. And in fact, when we talk about, and I need everybody to understand this here, the work that y'all are doing. When you talk about the $26 million in grants to companies, the $3 million through the foundation, everybody needs to understand the greatest source of venture capital, private equity money in America comes from pension funds. Mm-hmm. That means public workers. That means teachers, firefighters, police officers, people who work in the sanitation department. If you are black and you are watching and listening to this show, do understand your money, you are the financial backbone of the venture capital world. Mm-hmm. And so a significant number of these people, public workers, your money is going to essentially 90+% of white men in private equity. And when people keep saying, how do we change this? I keep saying you change it on that bottom, on that level. When they come to the pension funds, those states should be saying, no. How many black folks are y'all investing in? What black PE firms are y'all using? What black venture capital firms are using? If y'all want access to our pension funds, y'all better have a level of diversity. And that's why I believe the Ed Blums are also filing these lawsuits, because they know that's also coming. We've already seen that happen in California, in New York State, in the city of Chicago, and some other places where they've been saying, you're not going to come get our billions of dollars if you're not going to be investing in it, black people. Final comment from both of you.
Oh, I love that, because I always give that example of the PE industry, of PE and VC being backed by the pension funds, built by people of color, primarily in those careers. And then it goes up to the 92% white male, and then they invest it in the white startups. And then very rarely does this money come all the way back down full circle into our community. So I love that example and that education, because people need to definitely be aware of that. But in my final thoughts or my final words on this interview, I definitely just want people to understand that this is a state of an emergency. Please sign the petition. We would love your data. We need to mobilize behind this, and we need to stop this in its tracks.
The only other thing I would add to that is that I just want our people to know that entrepreneurship is the pathway to economic freedom. And what Ed Blum is trying to do is he is trying to dismantle our economic freedom. Stock market won't do it. Home ownership won't do it. Entrepreneurship is the way to wealth creation, and that is why the Fearless Fund exists. So visit www.fearlessfreedomnow.org to join in our fight. Thank you so much, Roland, for having us.
All right, keep us abreast of what happens, and we will stay the course as well. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, going to go to break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about this, and because I really need all of y'all watching to understand what you just heard. I need you to understand, because I know there's somebody who's watching. I haven't pulled up the comments yet on the message boards, and I know somebody's sitting here going, oh, all this stuff y'all talking, that's just rich black people's problem. Y'all have no idea what is going on here, and it has a direct impact on every single one